Okay. Yeah. So let your bot do the talking. So we're going to build chatbots from scratch, and I'll show you how. So this is one of the startup that we have, Future Minds. So we build chatbots and voice chat agents for other. Currently, we are building for universities, and we will also scale it up for businesses. Okay, so some theory, we will go through some theory, then we will jump in and start building. It's good to have good fundamentals, so that is why the presentation. So these are the things that we will look at. Okay, so chatbot landscape in 2025. So there are different ways in which you can build your chatbot. This is now trending. And we were traditionally building chatbots using rule-based. So if this happens, if this keyword appears, then direct your flow to this, so like that. Hybrid approaches were tried maybe until last year. So we had a rule-based approach, and also we were using LLMs at times, at places, some places. And now we are talking about agentic systems. So we don't even use a LLM. We have agents. We hand over everything to the agent, and the agent will decide what to use and how to. Always we have options of proprietary software and open source solutions. Although open source solutions are still lagging behind because there's an enormous amount of funding that is required for scaling this up. So yeah. Okay, so just a little bit about. Okay, so these were the traditional methods of using building building chatbots. So OpenAI's GPT-4, 5 is almost out, so almost coming. We use these APIs, but not just this APIs. No, so we need a lot, many things to work around the chatbot. So we will look at that. Traditionally, this is what many people used to build chatbots. Google Dialogflow. A lot of my friends still use Google Dialogflow. They find it very convenient to build around it. And Microsoft Azure OpenAI service is also popular. Now, Anthropic's Claude API is giving very refined answers, I would say. Compared to OpenAI, I really like Claude because it stays within the boundary that you put. So, and of course, you have many open source options competing with all these proprietary options. So, yeah, some examples for us to keep in mind. One, so history, we should learn from history, and some lessons that we can take from history. H&M's visual shopping assistant was very popular, is still popular. They have personalized product recommendations, style preference analysis, etc., etc. They boast a 30% increase that they have built. Amazon customer service chatbots also often. I find the Indian chatbot not very helpful, but yeah, so they have built, and it handles about 70% of customer inquiries. And yeah, order details are integrated into the chatbot, and returns, refund, and all those things are processed using the chatbot itself. And a lot of people employment is is not required, and with minimal people, so they have a huge cost. IKEA, visual and text-based guidance. They have IKEA is known for its visual appeal. So they have step-by-step instructions and also voice control capability. And because of their chatbots, they have 40% reduction in support calls. These are on old numbers, I should say. So the new numbers would be much better. Okay, so I'm not going through all the examples, but I'll just mention few. So this is in healthcare. So basic symptom assessment, there are lots of places where we can put a some symptoms and get a basic assessment and get up to 95% diagnostic accuracy. So going to a local doctor, um, you'll have to go and you'll have to heal. He or she will have less patience. But to a chatbot, you can explain anything as much in detail as you want, and so you can feel free to upload your pictures or skin related pictures or things like that. And they built it in multiple languages. 11 million plus users are using worldwide. So that's pretty fantastic. And Mayo Clinic's patient support bot has also, this is mainly for medical information lookup, prescription refill requests, and etc. So there is a considerable reduction in personal calls, and similarly other healthcare as well. Finance, there is, I think this probably would be the biggest beneficiary of chatbots. So these companies have been using chatbots a lot, and not just in giving financial details, but also fraud detection, assessment of the person, and there is security involved in the details that are being shared in the chatbots. You can't just take it and route it through the internet. You'll have to first encrypt it and consider a lot of things. So fraud detection is becoming easier, since you can track a lot of things when you automate using a chatbot. Yeah, investment options and opportunities and tax optimization and things like that. So things are pretty standardized. So the advantages in building a chatbot is because things are pretty standardized, like we will see today with an example. So your scope is limited. So because your scope is limited, you can focus and answer those questions in a very systematic way. Yeah. Okay. So now the shift is going from 3.5 to 4, and we are looking forward. O3 models. Claude 3.5, 3.7 Sonnet is very good. Yeah. So we're using advanced models, up-to-date models, and we will need a RAG, retrieval augmented generation, we call it, a vector database for uh, having a customized database for our chatbot purposes. So we're not going to build, it's not ChatGPT that we ask any question and it gives us whatever is stored in its database. We want a customized database. So we're going to have a RAG and domain specific models trained for specialized industries. So we can also, I'm not going to show this particular point today, but I'll show a RAG, how to build a RAG and vector database. And we can also train domain specific models, upload data, and have a, say, for example, in ChatGPT Playground, you can go and build and use that model wherever you want, in Zapier or Make or anywhere you want. So because you have a customized training, you have reduced hallucinations. It doesn't have to think and interpret in many different ways. You are guiding it in a particular direction. So we are now moving towards agentic systems. So we don't have a single question, a single answer type of chatbots, a chatbot that kicks off many different tasks and say, check your calendar, check your database, check your FAQs, and check your past history, so things like that, a variety of things, and then come to a summary answer. So Integration with external tools and APIs, we often do because we need to access so many things before we come up with an answer. Function calling and tool use becoming standard features. So yeah, so either through an API or through a tool call, you access other content other than just the RAG, yeah, and get details. Emergence of specialized agents for specific domains. So you have specialized agents for legal, for medical, for finance, like we saw in the history of chatbots. So they are able to frame sentences in that particular language. So the person who is discussing on the other side would be comfortable. Medical people will have that language spoken, legal people will have that language spoken, and finance people will have that language spoken, and so on. Yeah, so your bots will also have multi-model capabilities. So you won't just use one model. For different purposes, we use multiple models. We can have voice, text, image processing. Say OCR, you have some images uploaded or some documents uploaded or some receipts that you want to extract data. So we go for different models. And you might also have a say a YouTube video that you want to transcribe and find out how many what are the summary points and what are the key points, and use that in your chatbot description. Okay, so you can do that. Real-time translation. So these are super nice to have. You can go to any person, and if the language is supported, ask for example, your voice agent to speak in that language, and that person can speak back in their own language, and real-time translation is possible. Seamless switching between modalities based on context. So if a context changes, we switch model. So all those facilities are possible now. um, Regarding development, so um, we are experiencing a very lovely period where we have no code or low code platforms. So no code is always dangerous in the sense we don't have full control over what we are doing. Yeah, but we will move towards no code in the future. But currently, I think low code is good, where we have enough control over the chatbot development, and also we don't have to write everything from scratch. We just guide the model in a specific way. So the good thing about the current chatbots is they have continuous learning process inbuilt. So we can put a feedback and say, okay, so the current conversation went like this, and so what do we learn? Okay, so how should we improve? So either through user feedback, I'll show you some metrics that we can use to improve feedback. So either through our own LLM based metrics, or through user feedback, we can improve the chatbot, and the chatbot can continuously learn to to do better in the future. Yeah. So there is a definite shift from rule based to intent based conversational design. So we no longer build rule based. That has become outdated. And now there is a difficulty on how to test and validate these chatbots. So it's becoming harder to test them and validate them and say for sure that they would work well, without hallucinations, without throwing in wrong data. So that's becoming a tedious process now. Yeah, so user expectations, demand for human-like conversations with personality and empathy. You must have heard of, I think, what's that? Sesame. Yeah, so if you've spoken with the Sesame voice chat, you would understand what I mean. So people love a friendly conversation that doesn't sound AI, that doesn't sound very robotic. So if you have a voice, even if you don't have a voice, if you just have text, then you would still like a friendly conversation, not a robotic answer. Ditto, you ask this and just give the answer blunt. So yeah, a kind of a personalization is required in chatbots, and we have to maintain history. Unless we maintain history, we cannot have a personalized chatbot. Yeah. So there are privacy concerns involved. So how much of user data do you store, and how do you handle the data? When do you dispose the data? How long you keep it, and things like that. And preferences for omni-channel experiences across devices and platforms. So yeah, so if one person logs in through mobile and then switches to a web, how do you continue tracking that it's the same person and have the history aligned for that person, so things like that. Okay, so LLM based approach, you have some pros and cons. So let's just quickly go through. So the good thing is you have natural language understanding now matured. So 4 or 5 years ago, we were struggling to help the LLM understand, and produce a single sentence without any grammar mistake. So now there is good understanding. Where it's able to understand and comprehend what we want to say. An ability to handle complex and nuanced conversations. So it's not just one time, one prompt, but a series of conversations that we can have. O3 model, for example, we can have a long conversation and still the context is maintained. And continuous improvement through model updates. These days we have every week we have new updates coming, and reduce the need for explicit programming of responses. So nowadays, unless something is explicitly required, we don't explicitly say that this is how you should respond. But the cons, there is still potential for hallucinations and factual errors. We still struggle with it because the way AI agents work or LLMs work is to fetch from an embedding called word cloud. So if they understand the context slightly differently, then they might fetch something that is not correct. And factual errors, we still add some rules to keep track of to keep track and avoid factual errors. So yeah, um, and there is cost involved. So it's not free. It's not hosted locally. These days we have cloud, so there is cost involved. There are privacy concerns. Where is the data going? All the conversations, who's doing what with that, you know and there are challenges in controlling exact output. So we want a certain output, approximately we get it, but we get it we get the correct output every time we ask, the same output every time we ask. There is that consistency. All those things are still a problem. Okay. Yeah, so I think I discussed this enough. So yeah, I will see if there is any point that I need to emphasize. Okay, so yeah, so there are a lot of cons in rule-based approach these days, especially. So flexibility, we will have a very uniform robotic response when we have a rule-based approach, and a lot of manual Q&A has to be generated for having a rule-based conversation. So scaling is difficult. When you have lots of varieties of conversations, then it is difficult. Yeah, it's less natural. Okay, so hybrid approach is what we are currently using. We use little bit of rule here and there, so, and we take care of the scope of the chatbot. We don't say, for example, if you build it for healthcare and you ask a physics question, it's not supposed to answer. No, so you have to limit it in such a way. Yes, you can use LLM prompting to limit it, but still put a rule to you know make sure that it's not broken. No, so we call LLMs can be jailbroken. No, so you prompt it in certain way because it's going so it can be jailbroken, and you ask it in a certain way, it would even start answering your physics questions. So it's better to put some rules in place so that the rules will never be violated. You only pass conversations that are within the rules, Okay, so better control over critical pathways while maintaining flexibility. Okay, so improved accuracy for domain specific tasks. Okay, yeah. Um, yeah, so the challenges are seamless integration. So when to use rule, how much of rule to use, and how much of LLM flexibility can we have, so higher development and maintenance overhead is there, so we have to constantly check our rules, constantly check how much of rules were violated, how much of rule improvements are required, and things like that. No, potential for inconsistent user experience. So there is a chance that some rules might, filter some good conversations. So like our exam system, for example, no. So the way we ask questions, good students may not do well in our exams. No, so like that. So rule-based approaches have its limitations. Okay. Yeah, so these days we are moving towards agentic systems. So ability to perform complex multi-step tasks autonomously. So that is what that is the trend now. Um, but still, there is a slight necessity of putting some rules in place when we go for production. When we build for fun, that is okay. Integration with various tools and services. So we're able to integrate, say, for example, 2000 tools these days. I know, just giving um, uh, giving you know a smaller number, but the tools, there could be more tools that we can integrate. Reduced need for human intervention. So um, in when using LLMs, we often have to review and improve. But when we use agents, we don't have to improve. We don't have to moderate so much. They are able to, as the models improve, they're able to make better decisions and make better use of tools. So there is a potential for novel problem solving approaches that we are currently, this year, especially the year of agents. Yeah. So the cons, you'll have to think, very deep because of the complexity involved. If you configure something wrongly, it might come back and give you wrong outputs. So good the human brain is required. Potential for unexpected agent behaviors is possible. Security concerns, because how many things do you expose? Suppose you attach your Gmail, you attach your Google Drive, and for some use cases, say for example, Gmail and Google Drive are not required according to you, but your agent, since it has access, it goes in and fetches something and shares something, so those security concerns are there. And challenges in monitoring and controlling agent action. So when there is no human in the loop, then how do you monitor? How do you control? So how do you check if the agent is within limits, within scope, or doing something that is completely not expected? So yeah. So one slide about open source and proprietary software. So open source, although is catching up, is a little bit behind, but it's lower cost. Many models you can host it on your own GPUs if you have. You can customize models, you can fine tune models, and it's community driven. So always open source models, have this advantage of support and improvements and extensions. So that is something nice. But um, yeah, there is transparency in implementation, so we know exactly who can use it and how much of it is used for training, uh, who is getting access to our data and things like that. So freedom from vendor lock-in, meaning, so tomorrow if OpenAI says, no, we're going to raise our minimum API cost to say $200 per token, then we won't be left out. So we have open source models in place that we can use. So, but the proprietary advantages are plenty. So enterprise grade support and reliability. So open source models don't do very well for across many ranges of fields, and don't do consistently well. But the proprietary models are consistent and they are reliable. You can depend on them, saying, okay, so today there is a certain output, tomorrow if not the same output, but there will be something related. And there is comprehensive documentation and training resource. So if you don't know how to use it, you have some demos available and documentation which can be missing in open source. And regular updates. So if there is something that goes wrong, you have updates coming in, patches coming in, and it has an integrated ecosystem with other business tools. So you have ready-made plug and play options to plug multiple tools and use them, you know um, like plug and play types. Okay, so one slide about no code, low code, and custom development. So these days, the code is hidden behind all the blocks that we see. So we have like Lego blocks, we drag and drop, and we stack them and connect them and route them and configure them a little bit. So that is how we are doing. That is what is called no code, low code. So it helps us develop things faster. Now you will see we will have a chatbot running in less than an hour, you know, and deployment cycles are smaller. But yeah, so as we spoke earlier, if you want a very sophisticated chatbot that can cover all use cases and be robust, then you have to spend more time. Yeah. But yeah, still you can build it with low code, no code. Hmm? Yeah, so accessibility to non-technical team members. So if you really don't know how to code, you can still build a chatbot with the current techniques and technologies available. And lower initial development costs, so you don't have to spend a lot. There are some subscriptions, and then you are good to go. And the standardized components and integrations available. So uh, a particular node will work a certain way, and it's defined, its function is defined. You just drag and drop and connect them. It'll do its function. Yeah. Yeah, so but custom development has maximum flexibility, so you can customize a lot of things. For example, the pipeline is longer. So we will see there is a certain delay from start to finish. So low code solutions will be slower, but a custom development is like writing in assembly language, and low code is like writing in C++ or a higher level language. If you're thinking of hardware. uh, so but yeah, custom development is um, harder to do, and is not the trend now. but it has better performance and optimization. You have full controls over features and functionality. So you can enable what you want to enable, you can disable what you don't want to expose your chatbot to. Yeah. And potential for unique competitive advantages. So still people build custom chatbots. Even when they have agents, they still build custom chatbots to make it faster and more robust. That's more expensive, but anybody can start building using low code now, which is slower, which has limitations, but it is possible. Yeah. So some of the best practices I've listed. So how should we build a chatbot? What are the good things to keep in mind? Okay, the points to remember types. So start with clear user needs and use cases. So your customer specifications should be clear. You know what is the purpose of the chatbot? What does it shouldn't just be like a friend talking, long sentences. you know at the same time, it shouldn't be just giving some keywords, but what's your purpose, what is your use case, and design conversation flows based on actual user language. So it's better to have at least a FAQ, or a trial Q&A of how your language, how your chatbot would uh, go, how your conversation would go. Okay. So implement comprehensive user testing throughout development. So we have to constantly test it. As I said earlier, this is something that is a problem even today, even after we have agents. How do we thoroughly test it and be sure that it's not going to make mistakes? So say for example, you have some health chatbots or financial chatbots, then the cost of giving wrong answers is very expensive. So how do we depend? So create personality and tone aligned with brand and user expectations. So there is a certain customization to the tone and the brand that we. So if you are talking to a student, you talk in a such a way that the student is comfortable, use his language and the brand. So if you are a part of a university, Chitkara University, so you have that context in place when you discuss with a student. So plan for graceful handling of edge cases and misunderstandings. So there are some edge cases where that question is within the scope but is never expected. So when somebody asks that question, so how do you answer, how do you handle that case? So misunderstanding, say for example, a word means two different meanings. So bank, for example, could mean river bank, could mean currency bank. So is there a scope for misunderstanding? You have to define the context well. So when a word is used, the word is always interpreted in that context. Yeah. Okay, so there is technical details that you need to be aware of. Choose technology stack based on specific requirements, not trends. So in the sense, not just do what is popular, but pick a pipeline that suits your requirement, and for fulfilling that particular process. Implement robust context management for coherent conversations. So yeah, so we've already spoken about that. Context management, so this is live context. This is not some static context. This is a live context. So say for example, in the previous 20 conversations, there is something that the user is discussing, and you have to remember what the user said earlier. The user might refer to something, so that is for coherent conversations. And use retrieval augmented generation RAG for factual accuracy. So you have to refer to a database, and we chunk the database into chunks. So there is some there is some technique involved in how to chunk efficiently. That needs some experience. If you chunk larger chunks, then it wouldn't retrieve properly. If you chunk smaller chunks, then it would retrieve too much and will have confusion. So develop clear fallback mechanisms for handling uncertainty. So if something is not defined, what to do with it. Say, for example, if it's a health chatbot and somebody is asking a physics question, then how do you handle it? How do you, uh, what do you do? Do you answer, or do you just cut off, or do you just give a advertisement or something? So okay. So establish comprehensive logging and monitoring system. So everything, it's good to be record everything and use it for feedback, or use it for improving or learning purposes. Okay, so data management. So um, strong governance and privacy controls. So this is still a complex topic, and how much of user data can be used for further training, what is confidential, which is delicate data, so things like that. Use synthetic data for training when possible. So don't use real life data. Again, how much of user data can be used to generate synthetic data, and too much of synthetic data will not be relevant for a particular use case. Also establish clear data retention and deletion policies. So how long you're going to keep the data, say 30 days or 7 days or 1 day, or you delete then and there. Clear, transparent user consent mechanisms. So user consent is required according to law. We have to reveal what we are going to do with the data and ask the user to agree, and regularly audit data usage and access patterns. So we might assume something, and at a later point we might realize, okay, so this has exceeded our expectation, so what do we do with it, things like that. Okay, so that is data management. And testing and validation, a very, very important um, topic. Yeah. So implement comprehensive automated testing suites. So this is something that's very, very tedious to do still. Still, we will not be sure if there won't be, edge cases. Yeah. So conduct adversarial testing to identify vulnerabilities. Use human in the loop evaluation for quality assurance. So um, yeah, it is always good for a human to review, what has happened, did everything go well, at least samples of data. Okay, so test across diverse user demographics and scenarios. So if you're building a chatbot, say for Chitkara University, so people might be from Punjab, or Kerala, Tamil Nadu, or from other countries. So how do you handle different demographics and different scenarios? So yeah, so establish clear metrics for measuring chatbot performance. So we have some metrics, but yeah, I'll show you. So some of them don't really give much information, but how do you actually evaluate a conversation? How did the conversation go? When a human speaks with a human, another human, you instantly know. Okay, so if you like the conversation, you will continue. If you don't like it, you will drop it. And but the chatbot, things have to be things we have to get things done. So both will have to work harder to keep the conversation going, and have a healthy discussion. Yeah. So deployment and scaling is another thing we need to look at. Start with limited deployments before full rollout. So I don't just when we roll out, don't just roll out for the entire campus. Maybe have some limited students or faculty. Say, for example, I'm thinking of, for a chatbot for Chitkara. So so some people can test it, try it, and then can roll out for the entire campus. No, implement robust monitoring and alerting systems. So something goes wrong immediately. Some keywords are used, or some flagging happens. Okay, so plan for scalability from the beginning. So say, for example, we plan only for 10 users, and then suddenly 1,000 users start chatting in the same at the same time. How does the load and all those things? Establish clear incident response procedures, clear feedback loops for continuous improvement. Okay, so there are some ethical considerations we have to keep in mind. Biases, ensure accessibility for users with disabilities. So say, for example, even language preferences. So some people may not be comfortable. Yeah, so there are many ethical considerations. I've just listed few, but we have to take many things into consideration while we finalize. Yeah, the other aspect is maintenance and evolution. So how do you maintain? How do you fix bugs? What is your process to fix bugs? And how do you improve your chatbot? What metric do you follow? And what are your standards? So if your error rate or if your likes and dislike rate is this much, so is that enough, or do you expect more, or what do you do to improve? So yeah, and yeah, we it's good to analyze conversations using a different AI model, and also have some metrics prepared. Yeah, language models are evolving, so this is another thing that we have to look at. So a language model, if it performs well today, tomorrow you change the language model or upgrade, it may not perform well. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. So because that might be fine tuned better for some other use case, may not be for your use case, so it may not yeah perform well. So plan for graceful depreciation of outdated features. So something you built, worked hard and built, and that's outdated, so you have to say, okay, I accept this. I'm outdated, so I will move on. So we have to move on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about implementation. I've spoken about most of them, but yeah, so these are the phases that we look at. So requirements gathering and use case definition. That's the first phase. So this takes probably 50% of the time, I think. So this, or even more than 50%, I should say, because we have pipelines in place. So this is where we spend most of our time. And technology selection and architecture design. So what is your pipeline? So from the input to your output, how does your data flow, and what do you do with it in between? So all those things. Prototype development and initial testing. So that yeah, so I would put each of them as 10%, 10%. Refinement based on user feedback, full deployment and monitoring, continuous improvement and iteration. So the first three would take about 80%, 70, 80% of our time. And after that, that is, you don't launch fully until phase 5. So only in phase 5 you launch fully. Yeah. Okay, so some metrics. Okay, so I'll not go into things in detail, but these are some metrics we use. So there are some measurements where we take based on customer feedback. There are some measurements that we take based on call length, based on how quickly the problem is solved, or uh, based on the conversation routed through another LLM, and we evaluate it based on cost. So how many LLM messages were used, and how many voice calls were used, and how much cost it incurred. Is the customer coming back? We can record the IP and see if a certain customer is coming back, or things like that. How much is the uptime, response time? So after a question is asked, after how many fraction of seconds or seconds is the response coming back? What's the error rate and things like that? So there are different categories we can use to measure our quality of conversation. But yeah, so all of this, yeah, it's complicated to use all of them. So you have to choose what you want to use as your top 3 measures, and then based on that, you measure your chatbot, and you try and go above the standard that you have set. So there are some targets that are some these are some industry targets that we look at, and we want to be higher than that. So yeah, so it takes time to define your chatbot effectively and bring it above. Yeah. Okay, so I thought I will use NI10 for building chatbots. Although if you use Zapier would be the easier one to use, or Make. If you're comfortable with Make, you can also try with the Make. But NI10 is open source, and you can host it. So you can self-host it. So for that reason, I picked up NI10. So it's open source workflow, automation workflow for connecting chatbots. It's low code. It's very visual based workflows. It has over 200 plus. It's ever increasing. I just don't know the exact number. 200 plus service applications. Yeah, you can self-host. So I have hosted it on a cloud. I'll show you that. There is a growing community. So about they boast about 40,000 users or something. So it's from Germany, and one of the rapidly growing startups. Yeah. So they have a lot of key advantages. I've mentioned some of them. Yeah. So seamless integration with LLM. So usually when a LLM is released, it would take about a week or 2 for them to support that particular. You have full control over data flow and how to route it. And the good thing about it is you can write your own code. So we would see we would use some code inside and customize your chatbots. And you have webhooks, so you can connect your web interfaces and take data to your NA10 and bring it back. And so that is very good for chatbot kind of applications. Yeah, so the front end will be like, you can use anything you want, but today we will build a custom front end. Let's see, based on our time. So we will build a custom front end and host it on one of my company website, and we can use NI10 for all the process in between. And the actual conversation is governed by a certain LLM. We're not going to use agent today. So I can show some other time and how to use agents, but we're going to use LLMs, say OpenAI, for example. And we're going to build a custom RAG to keep the conversation history, and also a database. And we're going to use webhook to link it to a website and back. So yeah, so this is the typical flow that we are looking at. Okay, so not sure if I should go into the specifics, but these are key notes that we would be using. Okay, so I'm not going to use HTTP today. I will use a webhook node. I will use a ChatGPT node. So these are called nodes that you can just drag and drop, and you can configure and connect them together. Okay. So we will write a small JavaScript, and we can use a switch. Let's see. For database, I'm going to use Pinecone. I think that's probably the easiest for you to understand. And we will process the data using JSON format. It's like XML. It's a collection of arrays. And we can use Redis for data storage. But yeah, we will go with Pinecone today and local storage. So yeah, so the good thing about NI10 is mobile and messaging platforms. It has integrated CRM. It has good support for connecting knowledge bases, and it has a good ticketing system. Okay, so this is about NI10. Why NI10? No, um, so yeah, so customer history, preference tracking. Okay, so I think I'll skip this, so I don't have to talk about NI10. Um, right, I think I mentioned most of them. Okay, so one or two slides, I think we are done. So common pitfalls to avoid. Depend on them, but they sometimes disappoint us. So we have to have proper guardrails always. Okay. So insufficient attention to user privacy. Somebody would have shared something, and that data, if it comes out, that's not good. No, so or it's being used by somebody else. So that's to be kept in mind. Okay. Neglecting human handoff, so that has its negative effects. So we rely too much on automation and too much on AI to interact with us. So we lose the ability to communicate. No, I see students these days, they know less and less to make new friends. No, so they find it hard to make new friends. uh, Launching without adequate testing, I've spoken about it enough. Failing to establish clear success metrics. So how are you going to measure? So you can't just launch, you have to have some metrics in place. uh, okay, so maintenance and ongoing improvements. Okay, so future and beyond, increased integration of specialized domain knowledge, evolution towards truly autonomous AI assistants. In the future, I believe it'll be just one or two nodes that we plug in and configure for building a chatbot. No, now today we might put together some 20 nodes or something. So, but in the future, it's all going to be autonomous. We have MCPs these days, which can help us access so many different tools based on context. And deeper emotional intelligence and empathy capabilities. As I said, Sesame kind of, you know, conversations, seamless integration across physical and digital environments. So there are dangers to it, but yeah, we are looking at, you know so, and regulatory frameworks are very weak, especially in our country. Things have to People have to wake up, and people have to put guidelines in place on how to build, what are the boundaries, etc. Yeah, so I think I will close here with my presentation. So let's jump into the demo. Do you have any questions? Should I answer some questions in case you have, while I set the demo up? This is a paper, my student's paper last year. So I thought I would use this as my document, and we can chat for um, we can chat with the details of this document. No, so that would be our database. So I've just downloaded it, so I will be using it. So if you want to have a look at it, this is the paper. So this is on NLP, statistical machine translation, and data augmentation. So we did some good work in augmenting text data. And yeah, so this paper is about that. So this I would be using it as my database. Okay. So I have hosted my N8N in a cloud called LSTO. So I'm going to open it and going to show you how to build. Okay. So let's do that. Okay. So this is how it looks anytime when we start. So first, let's base. Okay. So I'm going to do two things. One is to generate a FAQ. Okay. So I'm going to upload this file and generate a detailed FAQ. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So just dragged and dropped. I'm just going to use O3 high model and generate a comprehensive FAQ based on the research paper. Okay, so I'm going to use a FAQ. I'm going to generate a FAQ to use it as my database. Okay, so I'm also going to upload this in my Pinecone. I'm also going to use the FAQ that it generates. Okay, okay. So meanwhile, let's start setting up. So I'm going to initially take a Google Drive. Okay, so I'm going to say that whenever I upload a certain data, okay, so use that as my database. Okay, so I've authenticated my Google Drive here. Okay, so if you want, I can show. Okay, so N8N gives you good support. So there is a doc on how to authenticate. So you can go to Google Cloud Console, and in the console you can have your okay, sorry, yeah, okay. So for Google Drive, yeah, yeah. So you have to go to O2 auth. Okay, so and it shows you, gives you links on how to go, where to go. Okay, so I've already done that. Okay. Okay, go to console, and you have to go to APIs and services, credentials, create a new credential, and enable also Google Drive. Okay, so add those credentials here so that I have them here added already. Okay, so once you add it and log in, you would be able to connect to the Google Drive here. Okay, so I have connected. If you look at my Google Drive, there's nothing much. There's this sample Google Drive. So I just created a folder called demo. So I'm going to use it. Okay, so whenever I put a file inside, I want my RAG to be prepared accordingly. Okay, so that is what I want to do. Okay, so let me go ahead, do that. Okay, so I have to configure how often do I pick it up. So let's say every minute for now, since this is a demo. And changes involving a specific folder, yes. And I'm going to bring the folder. So my folder is demo. So as you saw, okay. And what should I watch for? So I should watch for file created, okay, or file updated. So I'll say file created, okay. So I can say fetch test event, okay. So this will find if there are any files and bring it, but I don't have any files. Okay, so let me put a file inside. What I recently downloaded, I will put it inside. Okay, so meanwhile, my FAQ is being prepared. right? Let me use it. Okay, give me a PDF of the same. Okay, so I'll just say generate doc. This is an Abacus AI, so you get access to many different LLMs and models in the same subscription. So you can use it if you want. Okay, so I'm going to pick this and try and put it in the drive. Okay, so once I put it in the drive, now if I go and say fetch test event, so it's going to fetch my PDF. So it has fetched my PDF. Okay, and now I can use it further. Okay, so what I'm going to do, once I fetch, and I'm going to download it. Okay, so I can use it. Okay, so it comes into a folder, and now I have to download my binary file. Okay, so again I will do a Google Drive. Okay, so I'll say download file. Okay, so again I'll have to configure. Okay, so Google Drive account, and I'm going to use this file. What operation I'm going to download? Okay, I'm going to download by ID. Okay, so I'll look for the ID here, and I should see my file ID here. Okay,
Excuse me, sir.
yeah, yes.
Sir, the font size is very small. Can you increase the zoom level?
Okay, okay, okay. Okay, is that okay?
Yes, sir. It's better now.
Okay, all right, all right. Okay, thank you. So this is my ID. So I'm going to drag and drop it here. So this is actually a small JSON, and whatever is inside double curly braces is called is JavaScript. So I've just taken a value from a particular object. Okay, so in the JSON format. So I've given it. So my ID should appear here. So if everything is okay, it should show me green here. Now I can test this step, and it should give me the downloaded file. So that file, this is the name of the file that I downloaded. It's 2.4 MB, and I can see it now. Okay, so this is step 2. So just clean it up. Okay, yeah. So I have now completed downloading the file. Now let me set up Pinecone. So I'll show you. Okay, so this is Pinecone website. So you can go there. You can log in. So this is for vector database. There are many places where you can generate vector databases. This is one of the places. Okay, so I have another database here. Let me create a new one. So I'm going to create a new one. So let's call it chatbot. Okay, version 1. Okay, okay, it says only lowercase. Okay, right. So chatbot 1. Let me call it. And I'm going to choose a configuration. So for now, since it is a demo, I'm choosing a smaller one since it takes less cost. You have a certain free storage available. So I'm currently using the free storage within the limits. Okay. So remember this model, we're going to use the same thing inside NI10. Okay. So we have to use the same thing inside NI10. The rest of it, you can just leave it as default and create. Okay, so I have this as chatbot 1. Okay, right. So I'll go now inside NA10. I'm going to add another Pinecone. Okay, vector store. So uh, I'm going to use add documents to vector store. Okay, so currently I'm going to add documents. I've already configured this API. So it's a very simple process. You can just go fetch the API from your settings and put it. And now I'm going to insert documents into my uh, vector database. So I say into insert database. Okay. So which index I want to add to? I have already demo 1. Now I'm going to use chatbot 1. Okay. So batch size. So this is where you need some technical details, know how to configure your batch size. For now, I'll leave it as default. Okay. So I have to configure my embedding. So what kind of embedding? So I'm going to use OpenAI's embeddings. And if you remember, yeah, OpenAI's key also you'll have to add. So OpenAI's key is paid. You have to have at least some amount. Okay, and this is what we used there. In Pinecone we selected embedding 3 small. So if you remember, I'll go to Pinecone. Okay, so okay, this looks like it's not. Oh yeah, it's visible here. Okay, so text embedding 3 small. Okay, so that is exactly what we have to select here. This is for the dimensions to be correct. Okay, so otherwise it'll tell you the dimensions are incorrect. Okay, you can leave it as it is. You don't have to add other options now. Okay, so yeah, so we've added embedding and now we need a data loader. So I'll just go with the default data loader. Okay, so we have to configure the data loader. So now the kind of file that is coming in is binary. So I'm going to select binary and I'll say load all inputs. Okay, and automatically detect what file. So it could be PDF, it could be doc. So let it automatically detect. Okay, yeah. So here I need a text splitter. So I will select recursive character text splitter. So here I mentioned about this. So the chunk size is also important. So you'll have to know your data and how much, how do you want to split it? Okay, so I will say 850. So this for this you need little bit of embedding knowledge. Okay, right. So we have configured. Now we can run this. We have one file in the drive. I will also add the fact that I generated. Okay, so this fact that I generated, and I'm going to take this. Okay, it has given me a doc. Never mind. So I'm going to drag this. Okay, it's not downloaded fully. I'm going to drag this and I'm going to put it in my drive here. Okay, so I have 2 files and I'm going to take this and give it into my Pinecone. Okay, so let's we can either turn it on and whenever there is a file it'll process, but now since we have those 2 files, let's just hit test workflow. So it's going to process this and it's going to uh, do its thing. Okay, so it has picked up the files, and if we go here to database, so we can see we should be able to see the records. See, now we can see 4 records created. So it would be chunked based on how you want it to be chunked and how much overlap you want between the chunks and all those we define. So based on that, it is chunked. So our database is ready. Now we can use this in a different workflow. Yeah. So let's leave it here. I'm going to save this and create a new workflow. So, okay, so create a new workflow. So we're going to step 2. So we've created a RAG and now we're going to start building our chatbot. Okay. Okay. So one second, I'll just open my notes. Okay. So we need some kind of trigger. So we will go with the easiest option now. Then we will upgrade. So we can use a when chat message received option, right? So I'll leave this as it is, and let's add options later. Okay. So this would be my trigger. So this would NA10 has an inbuilt option to chat from within. Okay, so you have a chat window that you can type and test. Okay, so we will use this inbuilt chat for now. Okay, later we will expand it to other chatbot. Okay, yeah. So after this, I'm going to connect the AI agent. Although I call it the AI agent, it's not technically an agent, but it's just a dummy LLM. Okay, so it's not a technically an agent, but it's just an LLM. Okay, so connected chat trigger node, that's already configured. So I'm going to leave it like this for now. Okay, and this is the default uh, argument that comes in. So I'm going to leave it uh, as well like that. Okay, so if you want specific output, if you want a particular format, then you can turn it on and say you want JSON format, XML format, or an array, okay, or just text, okay, so you can do that. So for now, I'll leave it default. I'll add a chat model. So I have OpenAI already configured, so I'll use OpenAI. So OpenAI is configured. 4O Mini is the cheapest model. So for now, since it's a demo, I'll choose this. Okay, so I have configured my chat model. So if I don't give memory, okay, so I will show you what happens if I don't give memory. Okay, so I can add a tool. Uh, okay, so let's try without anything. Okay, so I've not added my RAG here. So let's say, hi, my name is Phil. Okay, tell me about my paper published in 2024. Okay, it would not have any, it doesn't have any database. So, okay, I don't have access to specific information about future events, oops, or publications, including, okay. Yeah, so it doesn't have any, yeah, information. Now, if I add memory, so what's going to happen? So I'll just add a simple memory. So yeah, we have to feed in something to the memory. So session ID is good for it to keep track of. Okay, so and how many messages should it remember? Okay, so let's say 5, for example, uh, for now. Okay, so now since I've connected memory, I'll say, hi, my name is Phil. Okay, so it'll say, Phil, how can I assist you? This is the default LLM answering. Okay, what is my name? Okay, see, your name is Phil. How can I help you today? No, so it remembers my name. That's because of the memory. No, so it shows, and it then shows how many times you went inside this particular node. Okay, so now we will connect our Pinecone model. Okay, so we will connect. There is a Q&A node. Okay, so answer. Yeah, vector store question answer tool that is called. Okay, so we'll connect this, and we have to give a small prompt. Okay, so let's give a small prompt. Okay, so I'll just copy paste my prompt from my notes. Okay, so return data based on the questions asked from the database. Okay, so your task is to simply, based on the questions asked, you return the data. Okay, yeah, so we can take it and drag it and put it here. So this would be my question. Okay, and question is, okay, so this would be my question. So the question comes here, right? Okay, so that's done, and we have to connect a vector store. Okay, so this is where a RAG comes in. So we're going to connect our Pinecone. Okay, so Pinecone API is already configured. Okay, retrieve documents as vector store for chain or tool. So I'm going to leave it as it is. And which database should I look into? Okay, so I'm going to look into chatbot 1, right? So that should be fetched. Yeah, okay, chatbot 1. And I have to give connect an embedding. So I'm going to use the same embedding that I used earlier, OpenAI's embedding, and there's 3 small embedding. So things look okay now. Okay, there is some red. We will fix it. Yeah, okay. So you need another chat model here. Okay, so OpenAI's chat model is good enough. We've already configured all that. Okay. Yep. So now it has access to my RAG, and it knows to, once the database comes in, it knows how to prepare the answers based on the chat model. So it'll again throw the database, the context to the chat model, get an answer prepared, and get it to the agent. Okay. That is what it's going to do. Okay. So let's save it, and let's open a, okay. So, hi, my name is Phil. Um, Tell me in short, okay, what the paper, okay, research paper is about. Okay, so now it's going to go, if I minimize, it's going to go here, and it's going to open the pinecone vector, get it to the chat model, and get it back. So we can see all that, all whatever is happening. So see, it got this question, okay, and gave this question to the chat model. Let's see here. Okay, so okay, so this is the, okay, so it has the answers also. Okay, let's go here. Let's go here. So this is the question, and the question is attached here. And this went to the pinecone, and the response has got back like this. The research paper introduces a lexical matching data augmentation framework. Da, 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 da. Okay. And so this response is got back. Okay, so if we go to Pinecone, what Pinecone has fetched, so this is what was given to Pinecone, and Pinecone has fetched along. Okay, so but all this is not thrown to us. See, you saw some FAQ is also fetched. Okay, that we got generated, and some sections of the paper is fetched, and another section of the paper is fetched. Okay, so these 3 arrays are fetched, and now instead of throwing all the 3, this tool threw it to your database, sorry, your LLM, and your LLM summarized all this for us. Okay, so all these messages were thrown in, and there is a summary prepared. Okay, and that summary got back here, right? So okay, so we can continue to ask. Okay, so thanks. Show me one impressive result from the paper. Okay, I'm not sure what it's going to get. Let's see. Okay, so one impressive result from the paper is quality gain of, okay, blue and meteor, okay, over SMT, right? So it's not bad. Right, so now what we will do, I'm going to make it public, so even you can chat with it. Let's see. So I'll make it hosted chat. So you can make it either a hosted chat or embedded chat. So within n8n, you have a quick testing facility. You can put it on your website, and you can chat. Okay, so okay, let's say I did do it as embedded chat. I can also turn on authentication, so you can restrict it to certain users. Okay, so let's say we're going to create a new user. Okay, so new user, what should we call it? Okay, so CB. Okay, so new user is CB, and password is also CB. Okay, so I'm just typing the same thing here, so you can also try it. I will show you how. So I'm going to copy this link. Okay, so I've just created a basic authentication, so it's not accessible to anyone, everyone. Okay, so I've copied this link. I'm going to go to my website that's still under construction, so please don't mind. Um, hmm. Okay, futureminds.space is our company. It's still website is not ready yet. Okay. Okay, so it's asking me for password, username and password. I'm typing CB. Okay, yeah. So my name is Nathan. So it gave a default name if you noticed. Sorry, it's here. So here you can set it up how you want the initial conversation to be. So it said, my name is Nathan. Okay, that's all right. We'll go with it. And so here I can ask, so tell me okay, let's say explain to a 5-year-old about the paper, uh, about the research paper. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to ask, tell it in simple words. Okay, yeah, so I will paste this in the chat. So in case anyone wants to try, you can try. So this is already live. Yeah. So it says, okay, little buddy, imagine if you have a big box of toys. I've never asked this. But some of your toys are really special and hard to find. This research is like a magic trick that helps computers learn different languages better. Okay. Okay. They don't have a lot of examples to learn from. That is data augmentation. That's nice. So yeah, you can chat with it and experiment it. Okay. Okay. So one more uptick we will do. So what we're going to do is we're going to sorry, we'll make a copy of this and we will use a custom website build. Okay. So let's do that. So I'm going to duplicate this. Okay. So I'm going to name it as chatbot um, custom build. Okay. Something like that. So I need to make some changes to it so that it can work like a custom chatbot. Okay. So I'll show you. Okay. So now we are going to remove this when chat message received. So this is a node within n8n. It doesn't provide a custom experience. So I'm going to replace it with a webhook. Okay. So I'm going to look for a webhook. So this is what will help me interact with the website. So we will turn on production once we go live. For now, I'll leave it like this. Or I can as well turn on production. Okay, so I can change the path to anything I want. So let's say chatbot. What did I name it as? Okay, custom build. Okay, so I can turn on some basic authentication. So yeah, we already have that in place. Okay, so when should the thing be? When should the chatbot respond? Okay, so I will say when last node finishes. Okay, so once the chatbot gets the question and it processes everything, then it should respond. So that is what I want. And response data, let me say all entries, dump everything. Okay, yeah, so that should be enough. Okay, okay, so I'm going to connect it to my AI agent now. Okay, so this would configure things. Okay, and now I'm going to press active. Okay, I'm going to save it. Yeah, it's saved automatically. And I'm going to take this prediction URL. Okay, so test URL, we can use it for testing, but since this is a demo, I'm just directly going for prediction. Okay, so I'm going to go to Claude, for example. Okay, so I'll open Claude. Okay, so I like Claude when I code something. Okay, so Claude Sonnet is good. So I'm going to paste this prediction URL. Okay, so I'm going to tell it this is my N8N web hook prediction URL. Okay, um, use this and build a custom web custom chatbot interface and give me one HTML file that I can embed on my website. Okay, so yeah, so what else should I give? The output, uh, okay, format the output but well to accept all markdown formats. Okay, um, since the output is being fed from an LLM. Okay, yeah, so I'm asking it to format the output properly. Okay, let me also give some colors. Okay, so I like red colors and blue colors. So let's say use red and blue bright colors um, that, yeah, okay, in the chatbot window. Okay, um, I have basic user auth turned on. Okay, user name is CB. Let the user type in the password. Okay, what else I should give? I think that should be fine. Let the conversation move up seamlessly and add some animation where appropriate. Okay, so I think this should be enough for a, yeah. So I'm just turning on extended thinking. So in case it wants to, so I've asked it to build a custom chatbot. So that is all I need to give. These days, Claude is super good in understanding N8N requirements since it has access to the web also. It can go and search and get current standards, current documentation, and build based on that. So earlier when I tried as well, I gave just one prompt and it was able to give me the HTML file. Let's see if it does this time. It might do, it may not do. We might have to tweak it a little bit. So let's wait for it. Meanwhile, I'm almost at the end. So if you have any questions, you can ask while we wait for this.